Quite interesting. You said, why do so many people who come to the America from other countries with little to no money at all within 10 years outpace the average person who was born here? What is going on where Americans who have all of the, I'm an immigrant to this country, right? Many people who are given from the very beginning all of the benefits of being from this country, why is it that they are outpaced by people who weren't born here?
So 6, 7 months ago, I'm sitting with my estate planner, and one of the fears I have for the last 10 years is what I'm going to do with my kids, with the wealth, with money. Am I raising them in a way that they're not going to turn out being the snobby, arrogant kid that,
Silver spoon.
oh man, I never liked those kids in school. Those are the kids I got into fights with. I never liked those kids. So I don't want to raise those types of kids. And then you go and read these books about which families generationally created a wealth that stayed. Like Vanderbilt raised a bunch of snobs. So Vanderbilt's money only lasted one generation. Generation later, there's no money left. So when you read the story about that Anderson Cooper's a Vanderbilt, but his mother said, hey, even though we were Vanderbilt, don't expect any kind of trust fund. Baby, you ain't got no money here. Nothing's coming over to you. You got to make your own money. But you look at the Medici family and what they did. 5, 6, 7 generation. What did they do differently? You look at Rockefeller still has the money. You look at some of these other families that kept the money within the family. What did they do? What did they structure? And there's estate planning we can go do, 10, 15, 20, $50,000. Then there's guys you can hire that's 100,000, $250,000, $1 million. But those estate planners, when you hire, what they do? They interview your kids. So they go sit down with your kids, and after they talk to you, and they'll say, how do you want to set this up for the money with your kids? Who gets money? What do they need to do? What's the criteria? Are you okay if they get this? What kind of cars do you not want them to buy to waste the money? Who do you want them to work for? What happens with this business? Can they lose all the money? Are you given equally? Here's what this family did. And they give you all these suggestions on how to properly set it up. Once you and your wife agree on what you want to do with that wealth, these guys have meetings with all your kids without you there. And they'll record it so you can see how the meeting went, but they're setting it up with them. So they'll say, okay, kids, this is on behalf of your parents, here's a few things you need to know. Number one, the good news is your parents are very prepared on what they've done with you. And here's what you can get. Your parents have worked very hard and they have made a lot of money. And if you do it right, some of that can be passed over to you. But if you don't, you're not going to get it either. Let me go through some of these criteria. Da-da-da-da-da. These 3 things you do, you're not going to get anything. These 2 things you do, pa. If you do this, here's what's going to happen. This is what they want us to use the money with. And then they kind of break it down to them. Now, you know how many families actually do that? Very few. Those conversations most people don't have. Most people are so much about go, 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 go. And then you die unexpectedly. Oh, we didn't even set up the estate planning, let alone the detailed estate planning. No. Okay, now your kids are spoiled rotten doing what they're doing.
I've had this conversation with a number of friends. Ben Francis, who is the CEO of Gymshark, his net worth is triple Drake's.
He's a stud of a guy, by the way.
He's a
I had him
serious
on
dude.
the podcast a couple of years ago. Stud.
Serious dude.
Yeah.
I was talking to him, and I think that it's the same with you. One of the things that you value the most in your upbringing have been the hard times, the spit and sawdust lessons and rules, the school of hard knocks, right? That's given you the work rate that has permitted you to be able to achieve the success that you have and locally reverse entropy, right? So you've been able to wrangle your reality in a way that you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you have worked so hard to be able to give your kids opportunities that you never had.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you know that they need to go through the hardships and that those are where the lessons are learned that are going to prepare them. This to me seems like a very interesting tension, right? I want to give my kids opportunities that I've worked so hard for. If I don't, what the point in me working so hard?
That's right.
And yet they need to go through the difficulty. They need to do. How have you found this tension between the two?
Well, that's a great question, but I want to finalize by making a point. When you ask the question about why is it that so many people come to America within 10 years, they have more money than the people that were born in America? Because unfortunately, the way we've ran America, if the American-born kids are kids of these families, they're the kids of the families that spoiled them in America. There's no more earning things in America. It's just handed out to them. We're printing money left and right. We're giving away income to people left and right. We're making life easier. We're incentivizing the wrong things. Do you know in 1940 in America, what percentage of kids were born to single mothers? In 1940, in America, what percentage of kids were born to a single mother who's not married with no father in the household? 4% is the number. Did you know the number or no?
Mhm.
It's 4%. You know what that number is today?
Over 50.
It's over 40%,
Over
shy of
40.
50%. You're
Yep.
right there at the number. You mean to tell me we went from 1944% to today? So what happened there? First of all, policies by FDR, Social Security and the incentives of taking care of single mothers. Then Lyndon Johnson in 1965 took it to a whole different level. Mothers are sitting there saying, the more kids I have, the more entitled programs I get. Great. Why would I get married? If I get married, I lose those benefits. The incentive programs America set up totally screwed everything up. It incentivized the bad behavior. It's like telling a kid, can you imagine if you're in estate planning, you say, for every kid you have not married, I'll pay you $700. Whose fault is that? Parents' fault. Bad policies have consequences. Yeah, you create bad policies. What person in the right state of mind, when they have their wealth, America's a family, it's a corporation, what person in the right mind would incentivize, what parents would incentivize kids to say, I'm going to have more kids and I'm going to give you money out of the living trust? Nobody in the right mind would do that, but America did. So what happened to us? Now we got all this crime. Now we're paying the price for it because all these years there's no father in there to put them in their place, to challenge them, to straighten them up. That's not in place. So that is a missing piece that these kids don't have in America. So to me, if we looked at America as a family, as a corporation, estate planning matters. Living trust matters. The right policies matters. Listen, I even think to the point where, you know how in America voting starts at 18 years old? I would much rather, this is a very strange policy I'm going to share with you. When I posted this on YouTube, a lot of people were very upset with me. I would much rather have somebody who's 14 and a half years old, who's had a job, and paid $1,000 in taxes vote than a 28-year-old kid who's never had a job, never paid taxes. I don't want that guy to vote.
Why?
Because he contributed to society. The 14-and-a-half-year-old kid, the 15-year-old kid contributed to society and realized how hard it is to pay the taxes into whatever they're spending money on. You want to spend $100 billion to Ukraine? We could have built 20 walls. We could have built 20 walls with that money that was sent. You're not saying Ukraine, I'm saying it, so you're safe. Don't worry. They're not going to come after you. They're going to come after me. So all of these things that you look at, we're going away from earning. When an immigrant comes here, all they're looking at saying, wait a minute, I can go work this and do this and do this and do this, and I'm going to earn this. Yes, I'm going town all day. I'm good with this. Many Americans don't have that mindset because bad policies have consequences, and we're suffering the negative impact of that. But you asked a follow-up question, right, with kids. And your question is how to balance it with challenging them, yet still having the opportunity. What was the question you were asking?
Yeah, the tension between you affording your kids the benefits that all of your hard work has allowed them to do. And
so I'm greedy.
the lessons.
I'm very greedy. And here's what I mean by I'm very greedy. I want my kids as close to me for the rest of my life. We have a family that lives in our community. Messi just bought a house right next to our house, and he just moved into the community. He caused a lot of mayhem. It's all over the place. Cops are coming in. Every week we have, what do you call it, paparazzi craziness that's going on. But one of the families that lives in our community, they run a medical company with 7,000 employees. So the founders, the mom and dad, their house is here. Right next door to the house, they have two sons. The other son lives here, who's the chief marketing officer. Their oldest son's house is here. Each son has 4 kids. Each son has 4 kids. Both sons are doctors. Both sons married someone who's a doctor. And they each have 4 kids. They have a structure on what they do Monday nights. Every Tuesday night, they have dinner together and they talk about God. Every Wednesday, there's a system to everything they do. He'll call me and say, hey, we went fishing this morning. I got a bunch of fish. Can I drop it off to you? I am enamored by how those parents created that kind of a structure where their kids are respectful, their grandkids are respectful. We're going to Halloween. We're walking in Halloween, doing trick-or-treating, and the son comes by, 17-year-old son comes by, and he says, yeah, he doesn't have his iPhone with him. I said, how does he not have his iPhone with him? He says, in our family, standard's very easy. You want your phone? You got to have straight A's. He's got to be. I said, well, let me get this straight. Your 17-year-old son doesn't have a phone because he doesn't have one, because he has one B? He says, yeah, it's our standard. I said, what are you talking about? He says, it's very simple. You just got to make sure you got straight A's. You'll get a phone, you get the car, you get this. Now, somebody's going to listen to this and say, what? What a freaking extreme set of standards.
That's tyranny.
That's tyranny. That's exactly the type of kids that end up becoming da-da-da-da. No problem. It's called standards and expectations. And for a family who has the ability to use money and waste it and do whatever they want to keep that kind of standards, I respect that even more. And guess what? The son loves his father, loves his mother, loves their grandparents, respectful kids. So it's not easy to do, but if it matters to you, eventually in my life when I say I'm greedy, I would love to create a proposition for my kids where 20 years from now, they want to run one of the companies, they want to be within the company, they want to work with one of the companies, and I'd like them to live close to me. Will it happen? It's going to take us 30 years to find out.